Welcome everyone. I'm excited to kick off today's presentation on advanced sentence structure. Today, we'll explore how improving sentence structure can enhance your writing skills. We'll cover key concepts, tips, and examples to help you become more confident in crafting clear and effective sentences. Let's get started. Let's talk about some key phrases that are really important when it comes to emphasizing rules or boundaries. First, we have under no circumstances plus auxiliary plus subject plus verb. This structure is used to strongly prohibit or emphasize that something should never happen. For example, under no circumstances should confidential information be disclosed. It highlights that sharing sensitive data is absolutely not allowed, no matter what. Similarly, we can say, under no circumstances could the decision be reversed, meaning once a decision is made, it's final and cannot be undone, no matter the situation. Next, we have not until plus clause plus auxiliary plus subject plus verb. This phrase helps indicate that something only happens after a specific event or condition is met. For example, not until the investigation was completed did the truth emerge. This shows that the truth only surfaced once the investigation was finished. Another example is, not until she lost everything did she realize its value. It emphasizes that the realization came only after a significant loss. Then there's only after plus clause plus auxiliary plus subject plus verb. This is similar, but often used to stress that an action or realization occurs after a certain event. For instance, only after the crisis intensified did authorities intervene. It underscores that intervention only happened once the crisis reached a critical point. Finally, we have no matter what, how, where, which introduces a condition that remains true regardless of circumstances. For example, no matter how complicated the situation became, he remained calm. This kind of phrase shows resilience and steadfastness in challenging situations. All these expressions are vital tools in our language for setting clear boundaries, emphasizing rules, and illustrating cause and effect relationships within our communication. They help us convey authority and clarity, which are crucial for effective leadership and decision-making. Today, I want to talk about some useful ways to express conditional ideas in English. Let's start with the phrase, had it not been for. This is a powerful way to emphasize the importance of a specific factor in a situation. For example, had it not been for timely intervention, the conflict would have escalated further. It highlights how crucial that intervention was in preventing a worse outcome. Next, we have the phrase, but for, which is a more formal alternative to, if not for. It's often used in more serious or formal contexts. For instance, but for her determination, the mission would have failed. This shows that her determination was the key factor that prevented failure. Finally, let's look at on condition that. This phrase introduces a requirement or a condition that must be met for something to happen. For example, the agreement will be accepted on condition that all terms are revised. It signals that the acceptance depends on certain conditions being fulfilled. These structures are important because they help us clearly express cause and effect relationships, especially in formal or serious situations. They also allow us to specify conditions under which actions or outcomes are valid, which is essential for precise communication. They connect to our overall theme of effective communication by showing how to articulate conditions and dependencies clearly and professionally. Let's take a closer look at some key vocabulary that can really help us understand complex ideas and situations. First, we have profound, which means something deep or intense, often related to thoughts or feelings that run very deep. Then there's detrimental, meaning harmful or damaging, something that can negatively impact a situation or even people's well-being. Next is arbitrary, which describes decisions or actions that are random or unfair, lacking a clear reason or logic. When situations escalate, they become more serious or intense, so escalate is the word to describe that process. To really understand what's happening, we need to scrutinize, that is, examine carefully and thoroughly. Coherent is about being logical or clear, making sense in a way that helps us understand the bigger picture. On the other hand, Ambiguous refers to something unclear or open to multiple interpretations, which can lead to confusion. Prejudice involves having an unfair opinion about someone or a group, often based on stereotypes rather than facts. Moving on, sustainable describes something that can continue long-term without depleting resources or causing harm, which is crucial for responsible decision-making. Sometimes we try to rationalize or justify something logically, even if it might not be entirely fair or true. When things are in chaos or confusion, we talk about turmoil, which highlights a state of great disorder. Oppressive refers to harsh or unfair treatment, often restricting freedom or causing suffering. Something fragile is easily damaged or broken, requiring careful handling. Unethical describes actions that are morally wrong, which is a vital consideration in maintaining integrity. Inefficient means not effective or wasting resources, while transparent is about being open and honest, which builds trust. Lastly, a disastrous event is extremely harmful, often with devastating consequences. Understanding these words helps us grasp the nuances of complex discussions and makes our communication more precise and impactful. Let's take a closer look at some common phrasal verbs and what they mean in a professional context. First, bring forward means to introduce or propose something. For example, we might bring forward new ideas during a team meeting to encourage innovation. Next, crack down on refers to taking strict action against undesirable behaviors or practices, which is often necessary to maintain standards. Cut back on is about reducing the amount of something, perhaps costs or resources, to improve efficiency. When we talk about follow through, we're emphasizing the importance of completing a task or project once it's started. Iron out involves resolving difficulties or issues that might be hindering progress. Moving on, lay off is a term used when employees are dismissed, usually due to organizational changes. Look down upon means to consider someone or something as inferior, which we want to avoid in a respectful work environment. Move forward with reflects the idea of continuing progress on initiatives or plans. Narrow down is about reducing options to make a decision easier. When we phase into something, we're gradually introducing it to ensure a smooth transition. Speak up for means to support or advocate for someone or a cause publicly. Turn a blind eye to indicates deliberately ignoring problems or misconduct, which can be risky. Weed out involves removing unwanted elements to improve quality or efficiency. Finally, wind up refers to ending a process or reaching a conclusion. These phrasal verbs are essential in workplace communication, helping us express actions and intentions clearly. Connecting these concepts to our overall theme, understanding and using these verbs effectively can enhance our professionalism and clarity in communication. Let's take a moment to observe this crowded courtroom scene, where a lawyer is actively presenting arguments. This image highlights the concept of picture perception, which is crucial in understanding how we interpret visual information. When we look at a scene like this, our brains are constantly processing multiple elements: people, gestures, expressions, and even the setting itself. It's important to recognize that what we perceive visually can be influenced by various factors, including our prior knowledge, biases, and expectations. This ties back to the overall theme of our presentation, which is about how perception shapes our understanding of reality. In this context, picture perception isn't just about seeing. It's about how we interpret what we see and how that influences our judgments and decisions. So, as we continue, keep in mind that our perception of images, especially complex ones like this courtroom, is a dynamic process that can both clarify and distort our understanding of the scene before us. The courtroom was eerily silent at this moment, as all eyes focused on the legal arguments being presented before the judge. You could really feel the weight of the situation, with everyone aware of how serious the consequences could be depending on the outcome. The lawyer near the witness box was highly regarded for being clear, convincing, and persuasive, truly someone who could make a strong case. It wasn't until the final piece of evidence was introduced that the atmosphere started to shift, becoming noticeably tense. Up to this point, investigators had already examined several accusations thoroughly, but some details still remained quite ambiguous and unclear. The question of whether the accused was genuinely responsible for the alleged actions continues to be a matter of intense debate. This slide really highlights how, even after extensive scrutiny, some uncertainty persists, showing how complex the case still is and how crucial it is to carefully weigh all the evidence. It ties back to the overall theme of the presentation, emphasizing the importance of thorough investigation and critical analysis in legal proceedings. As we see here, the legal team repeatedly emphasized that there was a real concern about the possibility of evidence being deliberately manipulated. They made it clear that under no circumstances should unreliable testimony be accepted without thorough verification. This highlights the importance of integrity and accuracy in the legal process. Meanwhile, outside the courthouse, the pressure from the media was only escalating. Public opinion had become deeply divided, and social platforms were flooded with misleading narratives that could easily sway perceptions. This case is far from just a simple legal dispute. It touches on broader ethical and social issues. The psychological toll on the families involved is significant and cannot be overlooked. Despite all this tension, I want to point out the remarkable composure of the lawyer. Throughout the proceedings, they remained confident and precise, carefully continuing to present their arguments. It's a testament to professionalism and focus amidst a highly charged environment. Now, let's delve into the heart of the crisis that gripped the nation for months. Following a highly controversial corruption scandal, the political and social landscape was in turmoil. Allegations against influential officials kept escalating rapidly, fueling public outrage and eroding trust in our institutions. At the center of this storm was advocate Mira Khanna, a lawyer known for her fearless stance and sharp intellect. She's long been seen as one of the few voices willing to challenge the status quo and push for transparency and justice, no matter the political pressure. The courtroom where her trial took place was always packed. Journalists, activists, everyday citizens, everyone was eager to witness what was unfolding. Every statement, every piece of evidence was scrutinized intensely, showing how significant this moment was for the country. And then, finally, the crucial breakthrough came. When previously hidden financial records were revealed, everything changed. It became clear just how deep and serious the scandal was. Multiple corporations appeared to have engaged in unethical transactions, and even more troubling, it seemed authorities had ignored repeated warnings about these activities for years. This revelation wasn't just about individual misconduct. It pointed to systemic corruption that needed to be addressed. It's a stark reminder of the importance of accountability and transparency, values that are essential for rebuilding trust and ensuring justice. That's the core message I want us to take from this final verdict: the importance of standing firm against corruption, no matter how entrenched it might be. As we look at this slide, I want to highlight Mira's firm stance against systemic corruption. She argued that if we ignore these issues for too long, it will inevitably weaken our democratic institutions, making them vulnerable and less effective. She was very clear that, under no circumstances, should powerful individuals be allowed to manipulate justice for their own personal gain. This point underscores the importance of accountability and integrity in the legal system. What struck me about her arguments is how coherent, logical, and emotionally compelling they were. Even critics who initially doubted her legal strategy started to see her brilliance as she presented her case. Her relentless efforts were instrumental in uncovering crucial evidence that might have otherwise remained hidden, proof of her dedication and strategic thinking. Outside the courtroom, we saw protests grow more intense, reflecting mounting public frustration. Social media debates became more hostile, and political divisions deepened, showing how deeply these issues resonated with the community. Yet, through all of this chaos, Mira stayed calm. She believed that ultimately, truth has a way of surfacing, no matter how deeply it may be buried. This slide reminds us that perseverance and integrity are essential, especially when confronting systemic issues. and that justice, though sometimes delayed, can prevail. Weeks later, the final verdict was announced. This was a significant moment, marking the end of a long and challenging process. Several senior officials were declared guilty, which sent a strong message that no one is above the law. It was a pivotal step toward accountability and justice. At the same time, the government responded by introducing new anti-corruption reforms. These reforms aim to address the root causes and prevent similar issues from happening again. It shows how even in difficult times, action and change are possible. While the scandal certainly left behind lasting damage, it also served as a powerful reminder. It demonstrated that courage and integrity can still prevail, even during society's darkest moments. This story exemplifies how resilience and honesty can lead to renewal and hope, reinforcing the overall theme of perseverance and moral strength. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. I really appreciate the opportunity to share these insights with you. As we wrap up, I want to emphasize that the key points we've covered highlight the importance of understanding the core concepts and how they connect to the bigger picture. Remember, the ideas we've discussed are not just theoretical. They have practical applications that can make a real difference. I encourage you to take these concepts forward and think about how they might influence your work or your approach moving ahead. Once again, thank you for being here and for your engagement. I look forward to seeing how you apply this knowledge in the future.